least begin to address some of those expectations, then they're sort of going to be in a position where they can't get themselves out of there.
So, Henry, recognizing that counterfactual arguments are difficult and even more difficult is prediction, do you think we're headed towards a plebiscitary democracy here, or towards more deliberative democracy, more citizen engagement, more breaking down of those lines of distrust that you've written about?
I'm skeptical that we're moving towards anything as nice and warm and fuzzy and cuddly as a plebiscitary or participatory or deliberative democracy. I think that what we're seeing is we're seeing the empowerment of a lot of voices. That is something that I think we are seeing. We are seeing a lot of people getting involved in the political process who would not have done that before, and a lot more variety in the kinds of voices that get involved in the political process. And we see, that it might have been 15 or 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, the voices which really mattered for public debate were the voices of the op-ed columnists of the New York Times and the Washington Post. We're now seeing a much wider variety of voices getting involved. But I don't think that this is going to be deliberative. So when we talk about deliberative democracy, we have this notion of something like an Athenian forum or something, where people are bravely sitting around dressed in long togas, and they're muttering to each other, scratching their beards, and sort of coming up with wise and sage ways of agreeing with each other. I think we're not going to see anything like that. I think we're going to see new, more creative, and more elaborate ways of disagreeing with each other. I think we're going to see much stronger organization along partisan lines. This is something that research that I've done with my colleagues in George Washington's political science department, I think shows pretty definitively. If we look at people who read blogs, their opinions on major matters of political debate are very, very, very strongly polarized towards the left or towards the right, with precious little in between. And I think we're going to see more and more of those voices in politics. Now, this is something which is, I think, very awkward for American democracy. It's something we haven't had for 60 or 70 years. But it is something that I think also poses some real opportunities as well, because rather than an emphasis on bipartisan consensus, I think we're going to have a democracy where there are going to be sharply different choices that voters can make between parties which are very directly, very obviously different. And that is a different kind of debate. It has its disadvantages, but it also has its advantages in terms of offering choice to voters. So that's where I think we're going.
Brian, as you look at the blogosphere, do you see dissension and antagonism and partisan debate polarized, or do you see a discussion that has a more informed, deliberative, moderate kind of grappling with issues?
I see both. I think there's a lot of chatter and anger and partisanship and vitriol going back and forth. Some of it actually quite intelligent and very focused. I have a number of, one of the things I was at, the Republican convention both of the last two cycles, and now have a number of very conservative friends who I don't agree with at all politically, but are very nice people and very eloquent, and they use their blogs in ways that I learn perspectives about all the time. I also see the beginnings of some more serious discussion around some of these issues. I actually think a lot of the focus is wrong, though. So much of the focus right now, certainly in Washington and politics in general, is in the sport of politics. Who's right? How many wins do I have? Who gets more press coverage and things like that? And I think it's a poor metric of success of our democracy or in our country if we're not addressing the social issues in a meaningful way. The example I tend to give is I work a lot with Feeding America, formerly America's Second Harvest, which is the third largest philanthropic organization in the country, who is trying to address the hunger crisis in America. There are 35 million food insecure people in the United States, 35 million people who go to bed without enough food. 14 million of them are children. And all the studies say if you go to school with not enough food, you don't learn as well, and the likelihood that you're going to graduate, go to college, et cetera, diminishes substantially. To me, the metric of success is when the number of 35 million starts to go down closer to zero, not whether or not we pass groundbreaking legislation to address hunger, which actually doesn't do anything, or we solve the food subsidy crisis or whatever, which doesn't increase the number of people who are fed, or so on and so forth. So I think we have to shift the focus of the debate, or just shift the focus of the public policy process and the political process away from the sport of politics, the blood sport of politics, and actually towards that is why Barack Obama was elected. He was talking like, hey, I understand that you don't have health care. I understand your schools are crumbling. I want to help you do that. And he's not going to be able to do that on his own. He's not going to certainly be able to do that if Congress and the advocacy groups and the nonprofits and the media and all the others can't sort of shift their focus to say we want to change the way society operates, we want to change the way democracy functions, and so on.
We're going to take some questions in a minute. I'm going to ask Julie one last question, but while she's answering, if you have a question, please come to the microphone and we can then the entire audience can hear you. So Julie, tell us what are your biggest fears and your greatest hopes for how democracy might be functioning in 5 years or 10 years?
Well, I think two uneasy trends are the rise of what we're calling the surveillance culture. We're all so worried about the government spying on us that we don't take a step back to look at how much information we discuss about ourselves online, from our political views to who we drank with last night, to photos and videos of absolutely everything we've done. We could end up being, over the long term, our worst enemy when it comes to privacy issues online. We're so comfortable being open that we forget the fact that everybody, even the bad guys, are watching us. And the second thing that plays along with that is, in closed societies, the ways in which government can use that level of surveillance and can use the very same tools that encourage citizen participation, that encourage democracy, that encourage engagement in the reverse, to keep a society closed, to spread fear, to arrest people who are protesting something. So those are my two biggest fears. My two greatest hopes are that we can create a culture of innovation in this country in which we can see people, a mother with a child on her lap at home, creating a tool to help her solve one of her problems, or somebody sitting in an office in Washington, D.C., trying to figure out how to write better public policy, so that we can innovate to create tools that help us solve problems together. That's probably my greatest hope. And I guess my second greatest hope, if I can have one, is young people today, the millennial generation. So much has been said about their potential to be the next institution builders in this country. And I'd like to see that innovation and the way we use technology combined with their passion and ideology and potential to turn our country around.
Yes, sir. I think you were first.
This would be
And can you introduce yourself, please?
My name is Todd Wiggins, and I have an online blog called Urban Revival Media. And I'd like to ask this question, probably more so to Brian, but to anyone who cares to answer. I guess you could say about 10 or 15 years ago, most people wouldn't have guessed that YouTube would exist. That something like the idea of being able to put any video that you like online, free of charge, and have it be up in infinitum and anyone can see it. 10 or 15 years from now, what do you anticipate might happen? Could we possibly be more open than we are now? And if so, what would you have been?
That's wow. Well, if I knew the answer to that, I guess maybe I wouldn't be in academia. It's a great question, and I think I would answer it in two ways. One is I think it reinforces